Warning, warning, warning. The Attorney General might be coming after you. You're listening to Home Sellers Advantage. I'm your host, Aaron Zapata.
And I'm your other host, Todd Anderson. We are the Bald Brothers team at Impact Realty Group with Real Broker, and we are here to give you the Home Sellers Advantage.
You can find us online at www.baldbrothers.tv. Again, that's baldbrothers.tv.
Or you can call us at 833-305-BALD. That's 833-305-2253.
Todd.
Hey, you want to hear the most irritating sound in the world?
No, we're not doing that. Thank you.
That's Dumb and Dumber, right?
No, it's Jim Carrey, but I don't. Is it? It is.
Yeah, it's Dumb and Dumber.
Yeah, it is Dumb and Dumber. And we do not want to be.
We won't do that to you.
Associated with Dumber and Dumber. Thanks, Todd.
This is Dumb and Dumber.
Thank you.
Or no, Dumb and Dumber.
Thank you, Todd. All right. Hey, we've got an interesting episode for you guys today. This is the Home Sellers Advantage, and so we want to talk to you, the homeowner, right now, who is perhaps in the process of thinking that because of the disasters here in Southern California that you can raise your rates. And there's a lot of stuff going on. In fact, as realtors, we've been getting warnings about this.
Yeah.
And so we wanted to bring you a little bit more of a serious show today when it comes to the situation and how you handle your investment property. Because we do know a lot of investors in California want as much as they can.
Yeah.
Every investor does. And that's a legitimate return on investment philosophy. However, when we're in a situation like right now with the disasters in LA, we're seeing a lot of unethical things happen. And in fact, the Attorney General has basically said, look, I've had enough. We're not going to let this happen.
Yeah.
So Todd and I have been getting warnings.
We have.
From our Association of Realtors, from who have been citing the Attorney General's office, because they're beginning to take action right now and file charges against real estate agents who are doing things that they shouldn't be doing.
Yeah. And as of today, there's a second one. So a few days ago, there was one real estate agent who had been charged. And as of today, or really as of yesterday, we got notice of a second realtor who was charged with price gouging. Today's episode really is focusing on you if you are an investor, if you hold investment properties, and you may not have an investment in the area of the burn area, but it's something to be aware of. Or if you're considering turning your home into an investment property or purchasing an investment property, these are things for you to be aware of.
Yeah. And so you might be working with a realtor, and you and your realtor are starting to concoct a plan. How do we get more rental income for this? I know. Let's kick our current tenant out and then lease it to somebody that needs it more and is willing to pay more. Now, that is an interesting philosophy because there are so many people that need homes right now. And we're going to encourage you, if you have a current tenant, that you let them stay in your property. We do know that, the process of evicting, although this is not really the topic of today, but the process of evicting, the process of evicting a tenant can be cumbersome, can be expensive. And if you're doing it for the wrong motives, depending on where you are in LA, may or may not be advantageous, like even from a cost standpoint. So what I'm saying is, you might be thinking right now, well, if I just evict my tenant that's currently there paying under market rent, I can probably put it back on the market and get more than market rent because so many people need the properties now. That, I think, is going to get you in hot water.
Yeah.
That's not really part of what we're talking about, and that's not really been addressed.
Yeah, and we're also not talking about, let's say you have a tenant who has chosen to move out or whatever, they're leaving, and they have been tenants for 15 years, and you've really not brought the rental rates up for them, and they are paying way below market rent, and then you rent it out at market rates. That's not gouging. Okay, that's not considered to be gouging. That's just basically putting your property rent at the market rate.
Yeah, and we're talking about that. We're talking about looking at your current tenants that may be on month to month, and you're thinking, great, now I can give them notice and I can get rid of them and I can get somebody else in.
Exactly. Yeah.
That is not good right now.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, there are some times when that's necessary. Right now, however, we do believe that even that practice will be looked at by the Attorney General.
Yes, and you might be perfectly fine, but those are the types of things that are going to get a second look.
Yeah. So here's what they're looking at, because we got these letters from the California Association of Realtors. We're seeing it on headlines. In fact, I've got one pulled up on my screen if you're watching on our YouTube channel. That is from Fox News. And right now, the California Attorney General has filed its second charge against a real estate agent for price gouging victims. In fact, the Department of Justice has sent out more than 650 price gouging warning letters to hotels and landlords in California. Mm-hmm. So they're basically saying when California is in a state of emergency, which has been declared, mm-hmm. it is illegal to then take advantage of those that are being affected.
Yeah.
So you cannot just say, well, because this person's going to get an insurance payout or because they are in need, you can't just raise the rates mm-hmm. because of that purpose. Mm-hmm. And that is what's happening.
Yeah.
There was an instant bump in rental prices the week of the fires. Mm-hmm. And people are like, ooh, I can take advantage of it. And now they're paying the price.
Yeah.
So 2 agents have been charged. They have been, the Attorney General has basically said, you did this, and we're filing charges against you. Mm-hmm. And we don't know how that's all going to play out. But my guess is that those guys are going to get their hands slapped. Mm-hmm. They're going to get fined. I believe the maximum penalty right now is $10,000. Mm-hmm. And so they're going to make an example out of those guys.
Yeah.
But if you're the homeowner and you're working with the realtor that came to you and said, hey, I think we can get more money for your property right now, mm-hmm. that's a red flag.
Yeah.
So that's what we're talking about today.
Yeah.
That's the warning.
Yeah.
Is don't fall into that.
Mm-hmm. Don't fall into the trap.
So a couple of other things that have been warned against. One is sending mm-hmm. unsolicited offers to purchase properties.
Yes.
So we know there's a lot of investors out there,
mm-hmm.
and they're starting to send lenders. We are interested in buying your property. We're interested in buying your lot. Mm-hmm. We buy properties that homes have burnt down. Like, this is a little premature mm-hmm. to do any kind of mass mailing mm-hmm. to those displaced homeowners. Mm-hmm. Well, number one, the Postal Service probably can't deliver half the mail.
I was going to say, how do they deliver that?
I mean, those homeowners probably by now have gone into the U.S. Postal Service and said, here's my updated
forwarding information.
Yeah. My guess is there's a lot that haven't.
Yeah.
And so to send those kind of mailers right now has been declared unethical. Mm-hmm. And if you are doing that, you're going to get in trouble.
Yeah.
If you're on the receiving end of those letters, mm-hmm. you need to know you don't need to respond.
Yeah.
And you shouldn't be pressured into taking an offer that is below market because you're in a bind.
Yeah. And that's one that might be considered to be more of a gray area by some because they're not forcing somebody to buy, they're making an offer. But the AG is considering that to be predatory.
Yeah.
At this point.
Yeah. And that's a good word, Todd.
Mm-hmm.
We hadn't said it yet, but that is what they're protecting. Mm-hmm. Protecting against predatory behavior.
Yeah.
And
it is very true that although that might be a gray area, the thing is when you are addressing this and giving this opportunity to somebody when they're at their lowest point, they are much more likely to take you up on it. And so that's why it would be considered predatory. Yeah. Whereas they're not in their, I don't want to say they're not in the right mind, but emotionally and situationally, they're not in a position where they can really think and weigh the decision accurately. And so that's why it becomes more of an issue.
Well, and when people are in duress, mm-hmm. When they're in extreme stress, there is cause and case law. And mm-hmm. we're not lawyers, so you got to check with your attorney.
Yeah.
But we know that if somebody is under duress, you can't force them to mm-hmm. sign a contract.
That's right.
It's non-binding. Like, hey, if you have to sell me this house or we're going to do something and blah, blah, blah. And it could be an extreme dangerous situation. So you got to sign over the property to mm-hmm. us. Like, that's under duress. Mm-hmm. Extreme stress that it's not normal. Those contracts are voidable.
Yeah.
And so there are other situations when somebody's incapacitated, when you have a minor, when you have somebody who's drunk mm-hmm. and alcohol, and they're inebriated, like that.
Wait,
is
how are you going to say that again?
Alcoholic.
Alcoholic.
Thank you. Todd, thank you.
It's an ironic word for you to mispronounce.
Yes. So I don't drink. So But when you have somebody who's inebriated,
Yeah.
right, and they come back and says, well, I was, under the influence of a substance, whether it be alcohol or drugs or other hallucinogens. Now, they can come back and say, I didn't know what I was signing.
Yeah.
Right. And so this kind of falls into that category under the predatory arrangement.
Yeah.
So you just, as a homeowner, if you are owning the home and you're the investor and you want to rent it out, don't go crazy. Look at market rents.
Yeah.
Charge market rents.
Yeah.
Don't be egregious.
Yeah.
Don't be predatory.
Hey, let's since we're talking about investors who have tenants.
Yeah.
Let's change gears, and I want to ask a question because we get this question oftentimes with many of our this might apply to you, but many of our sellers who homeowners who want to find new tenants or they want to sell their property. What is the process for giving tenants notice that they need to vacate?
Well, this is going to change city by city, but in general, if a person's been there under 1 year and they are on a month-to-month, which is possible, 30 days notice.
Yep.
If they have been there for 1 year and 1 day, 60 days notice. If you're in areas with rent control, it could be 90 days notice.
Yeah. We actually have one right now in the city of Santa Ana that Santa Ana requires a 90-day notice.
Right. So you might be in a rent-controlled area where you have to pay for relocation expenses and you have to pay them money to leave. Here's a hypothetical question. I've never thought about this until we're talking about it. What if those areas that are burnt has rent control and the landlord's required to pay them to move them out?
That's,
And then the property burns down.
Does
that landlord still have to pay them to move out, even though like everything's gone?
Yeah, that's an interesting scenario.
I hope nobody's in that situation.
And that does bring up if you own investment property or rental property, be aware of that. Each city has different requirements, and you may be. There are some areas that do require you, whether or not the tenants need it. They do require you to pay. Sometimes up to 3 months of
relocation.
So if they're paying, $3,500, well, let's say $3,000. That's easier to do the math. $9,000 you have to pay your tenant
to move them.
Mandated.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So check with your city. Check with your landlord. Check with your property manager. Check with your attorney to make sure that you're doing what you're supposed to do.
Yeah.
Because we're not attorneys and we're not giving you legal advice.
Yeah, we certainly are not.
But here's some advice.
Okay.
If you have tenants in the home, the question we get most often is, should we sell it with them in it?
Yes.
Or should we evict them?
Yes, that is a big question. And the answer is it depends on the circumstance, but we will tell you just a basic cookie cutter answer.
And this applies to single-family homes.
Yes, single-family residences, not the same as apartment complexes and that sort of thing. But the basic answer is you will always get more for your home if you can deliver it vacant. There are plenty of investors that will buy your home with tenants in place, but they will expect to pay a rate commensurate with the fact that you've got tenants.
Yeah, and tenants is an inherent risk. Because the new owner has no relationship with the previous tenant.
And it may be that your tenants are in a situation that they're paying way below market value. And let's say they're paying market value. You got an investor that says, hey, great, I don't have to go find tenants, and they've got a long history of being good tenants. That might be great. But let's say you've got tenants that are paying below market value, and you want to do this situation, not price gouging, but you're purchasing the home and you want to bring the rental rates up, the lease rates up to the market value. That's not going to go well if you've got those tenants in place.
Yeah. And when a tenant and a landlord or an investor who owns the home, which is the landlord, are in sync, meaning that the landlord is providing housing, the housing is providing rent, the tenant's providing rent. And that's a good relationship. Both are achieving each other's needs.
Yeah.
Like they're helping each other out.
Yeah.
The moment the landlord says, hey, guys, I'm going to be selling the property, you are no longer in sync.
That's right.
And it is no longer in the best interest of the tenant to be cooperative because they often want to point out all the negatives of the home. They want to elongate and stretch out the sale process as long as possible because they're losing their housing. So their goal is to keep housing. The landlord's goal is to sell housing.
Yeah.
They're not in sync anymore.
If people come by to look at the house and the tenants are there, they may badmouth the property. And
yeah. And we've had some wonderful tenants that have done a phenomenal job for our
We've
clients.
worked with a lot of great tenants, absolutely.
But we've also had our fair share of tenants that just tried to sabotage.
Mm-hmm.
And so our general advice that we give people is if you can do it, to deliver a home vacant with no tenants.
Yeah.
It sells faster, it sells for more money, and it's just an easier process for the landlord. Yeah,
so if you need to deliver a 60-day notice, which is anything over 1 year, in most cases would be a 60-day notice, our recommendation, and situation may vary, but our recommendation for you would be to serve that 60-day notice, have the tenants vacate, take whatever time that you need. It might just be a week or so just to paint and fix things up or whatever, and then put it right back on the market.
Yep.
And it'll be much easier to sell than if you are even if you're planning on selling it with it, delivering it vacant, if you're trying to sell it during the marketing process while tenants are there, it will also pose a challenge and difficulty.
Yeah. You do have to work around their schedule. You have to be cognizant of their privacy. They may or may not approve photos of their property, personal property in the home, taking pictures of their house, their stuff, putting it on the market to sell the property.
Yeah.
So there's all these nuances that we have to work through. And if that leaves you completely confused as really like what to do in your situation, the reason we want you to call us, we really do, because
we want to make it as confusing as possible, so you have to call us.
Yeah, no. True, so true. No, each situation is so unique.
Yeah. Everyone is unique.
Relationship. Not one property that we've sold with tenants has gone exactly the same way.
Mm-hmm.
So your situation is going to be unique, and we want you to give us a call.
Yeah.
Call us today at 833-305-2253. That's 833-305-2253. And we would love to talk to you about your situation here in Southern California.
Mm-hmm.
If you are listening to this somewhere outside of California, we can refer you to a realtor in your local area.
That's right.
They can also give you some good advice because we work with a nationwide company, and we've got great referral partners.
Mm-hmm.
Anything else, Todd?
That'll do it, I think, for today. We kind of a twofer. We talked about price gouging, but we also talked about serving tenants notice and that. So we got kind of two topics today in one show.
All right. Thank you guys for listening, and until next time, God bless you. Thanks for listening to The Home Seller's Advantage. The Bald Brothers team is a licensed DBA of Real Broker, licensed by the California Department of Real Estate, number 02022-092. Again, we do not give any real estate, legal, or financial advice. If you'd like to reach out to us, you can call us at 833-305-BALD, or you can reach us online at baldbrothers.tv. Equal housing opportunity.